Hi, so this is going to be an overall summary for how I like to teach the Math Kangaroo classes. You might have different strategies, different ways of teaching, and if so, that's totally okay. This is just kind of what I found works for me. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So essentially, the Math Kangaroo exams, they go up in difficulty. So they start out with 3-point questions, they go to 4-point questions, and then they end on 5-point questions. So it's almost like as you go on, it gets harder. So generally, I like to let students look at some of these problems ahead of time for homework. And then the following class, we look at what they had for homework. So what I like to do, again, this is just me. You might have found something that works better for you. I typically do 6 homework questions. I tend to do 3-point questions. So let's say I'll do like 1, 2, and 3. Then I'll do 2 4-point questions. So like 9 and 10. And then I'll throw in 1 5-point question as well for their homework. So like number 17, for example. And then we would start out, I generally start out by going over all those questions we had for homework. And then typically I found that every year you can spend about 2 class sessions on. So for example, this 2020, there are 24 problems. So there are eight problems, like 8 3-point problems, 8 4-point problems, 8 5-point problems. So I kind of like split it in half. So for the first part of the Math Kangaroo 2020 class, we can go over problems 1 through 4 on the 3-point questions, problems 9 through 12 on the 4-point, and problems 17 through 20 on the 5-point. And then the next class would be just kind of the remaining. So the next class would be 5 through 8, followed by 13 through 16, and then followed by 21 through 24. So as I said, I generally like to do 3 3-point questions, 2 4-point questions, 1 5-point question. We start out by going over those and then just filling in the remainders for the rest of class after the homework. Just going over the rest of those 3, 4, and 5-point questions, kind of those first or second half. Now, I have copies for the 2020 and 2019 Math Kangaroo and 2018 Math Kangaroo exams. After that, I'm not sure if UStart has more resources. As of now, they didn't. So what I had to do when looking at Math Kangaroo exams 2017 and under is I had to use the Canadian Math Kangaroo website. It's really easy to get to. I can actually just show you. Just type in Canadian Math Kangaroo. We could even just go to the homepage. Essentially, you would go to resources right at the top. And then from any grades 2018, or not any year, but yeah, they have lots of exams here. These are free too, so I do think that's why UStart likes to use these. So as I mentioned, UStart, I at least was provided 2018, 19, and 20 American Math Kangaroo exams. But before that, I would tend to just use the Canadian ones. And the Canadian is very similar. However, instead of 8 problems per section, there's 6. But it would work the same way. So let's say for homework, I would give them, let's say we're looking at the 2017 Math Kangaroo exam. And let's say it's the first class, so the first part. For homework, they would have had 1, 2, and 3, the first half of those 4-point questions. They would have then had the first half of those 3-point questions, then 7 and 8, 2 4-point questions, followed by 1 5-point question, so 13. Now, since these only have 6 per question, that would be done with the first half of these 3-point questions. Then I would just ask them usually 1 more 4-point question, so 9 in that first half. And then you can also go over 14 and 15. Generally, that would be enough problems to take up the whole period, but if there still is extra time, you can always use Google to find some extra resources. They have some extra resources on the Math Kangaroo website too that you can use. But that's generally how I would teach it too. One more thing too. So the American Math Kangaroo exams, when teaching those two, the answer keys is going to be on a separate sheet of paper. You have to go to answer key on the left column, and then you would have the years here. Whereas Canadian Math Kangaroo exams, most of the time, they would have the answer key at the end. And again, yeah, that's kind of how I would teach it. You might have different strategies, different ways of teaching. And then I would just kind of go down the years. What I have two classes too, where we've actually gone through all of the years. So I have like a grades 1 and 2 math kangaroo class. So what I've done with that, since we've done all the grades 1 to 2 exams, is I'll kind of alternate. I'll do one class will be a grades 1 to 2 exam. The other class will be 3 and 4, but more focused on the 3 and 4 point questions. Then when we go back to the grades 1 and 2, we'll focus more on the 5 point questions. So that's just me. You might have a different strategy as well. And then if you even need help on these two, there's some great websites or great tutorials on YouTube that shows you just different ways of explaining these as well.